Hey, do you want to go for another drink? I didn't get to drink much, and I kind of feel like getting a little tipsy. Is that okay? I was tired. Even though I was tired. With those sultry eyes looking at me, there's no way I could say no. I nodded slightly and entered a nearby bar with her. My name is Travis, I'm 30 years old. As a physical therapist, I am responsible for my patients' rehabilitation. I perform treatments and support recovery for patients whose physical functions have been impaired by injury or illness, aiming to maintain and improve their abilities. I think about how to approach each case to help their bodies recover as much as possible. I plan the treatment, observe their reactions, and adjust my methods. It's a very rewarding job. During a break, while considering an approach for a patient who had ankle surgery, I felt a jolt on my shoulder. Hey! Did you watch the boxing match yesterday? It was awesome. A guy talking to me while pretending to shadowbox was my coworker Tyler, who is the same age as me. No, I didn't. My shoulder hurts, so take it easy. When I responded curtly, Tyler started acting up. Oh, seriously? Just a light tap hurts? You need to train more. Though maybe I'm just getting stronger. Tyler can be annoying when he's like this, so I decided to ignore him. Still, Tyler is the kind of guy who doesn't let up. I started going to a martial arts gym recently. See, he starts talking even if I don't ask. They said I have a good sense of it. I'll get strong quickly. If someone scary bothers you, I'll protect you. You look pretty weak, after all. I finished my lunch and stood up. Alright, then protect me if Director Owen bothers me, I said, starting to walk back to work even though there was some break time left. From behind, Tyler yelled, "That's not what I meant by scary." Even I can't defy Director Owen, making the other staff laugh. I don't like watching or doing martial arts. I can't stand seeing people in pain. That's why, in my rehabilitation, I carefully adjust the pressure and approach to ensure it doesn't cause much pain to my patients. Despite that, Tyler keeps inviting me to the martial arts gym, but I always politely decline. Maybe it's because we're the same age and he finds it easy to approach me, or maybe I'm just his target for teasing. I don't know, but Tyler often messes with me. He's probably a good guy at heart, but our hobbies don't match at all, so I wish he'd leave me alone. Travis! Wanna go to a mixer? Here he comes again. And a mixer, of all things. No. I frowned and gave a one-word response. Yeah, I thought so. That's why I'm inviting someone else. Tyler said with a peace sign and a smile. Then why ask me? Without showing any disappointment, I asked. Out of courtesy? If you were really interested, I'd ask them to add another person, Tyler replied. Making me smile a bit. No need. I'm really not interested at all. With that, Tyler started getting excited with the other guys going to the mixer. A few days later, Tyler came up to me at work with a desperate look, hands clasped together. Please, Travis. Help me out. I gave him a puzzled look. Today's the mixer, but Mason caught a cold and can't make it. I need you to come. There are 3 of girl. So I need to bring 3 guys too, or it'll be rude. Honestly, I really don't want to go. As I frowned and stayed silent, Tyler added, they're nurses. Not from our hospital, but pediatric nurses. I fell in love at first sight when I took my sister's kid to the hospital. My sister worked hard to set this up, it's really important. Apparently, Tyler's sister is friends with the receptionist at the pediatric clinic, and she set up the mixer for him. Tyler once said his sister is scary, so he must have worked hard for this. Or rather, his sister did. I can't just brush this off. I'll bring everyone down. It's not that I'm not interested in women. I do want a girlfriend, and I want to get married. But I absolutely hate the vibe of mixers where you meet people for the first time. I'm shy, and there's no way I can keep up with the atmosphere or hold a conversation. Even though I said this to refuse, Tyler kept pleading, saying things like I'll keep the mood up and I won't let you down. Until I finally gave in. I'm really in my scruffy everyday clothes today. Is that okay? When I said that, Tyler's face lit up. It's fine. You're coming. Awesome. "Thanks, Travis," he said and left. I got dragged into a hassle. Well, I'm a plain guy with plain looks and a plain personality. It's the trifecta. The women probably wouldn't be interested in me, and I'll find a way to leave early with some excuse. With that mindset, I focused on my work. After work, I walked into the locker room feeling heavy-hearted, and Tyler handed me a paper bag. I peeked inside and saw clothes. "What's these?" I asked, and Tyler gave a clumsy wink. "I invited you last minute, so I bought this during lunch." "Here, take it and change." Inside was a decent shirt and pants, not quite a suit but relatively smart. "I can't accept this. I'll wash and return them," I said, but Tyler smiled and said, "It's fine, they're a different size." True, I'm 5 feet 7 inches. Tyler, who's 6 foot, is quite a bit taller. When I offered to pay, he refused that too. I really appreciate it today. The venue is a pretty fancy private restaurant, and you'd feel out of place in scruffy clothes. So, I gratefully accepted and tried them on, and they fit perfectly. Tyler is unnecessarily thoughtful in these things. Another coworker, also dressed nicely, joined us, and we arrived at the mixer venue. It was a formal place, part of a high-end chain. If I had worn my scruffy clothes, I might have been kicked out before entering. Even dressed in a nice shirt, I didn't really want to be there. We were shown to our seats and waited nervously for the women to arrive. The seating was at a sunken, heated table with colorful woven straw mats, but I ended up sitting cross-legged. Then the lattice door opened, and 3 elegantly dressed women walked in. I thought it would be rude to stare, so I kept looking at the floor, but when I glanced at the woman sitting in front of me, I was genuinely shocked. With large, clear eyes, a straight nose, and slightly plump lips with light lipstick, she was a beauty. She was the woman I met when I was hospitalized after an injury in high school. That was 13 years ago. There's no way she would remember. Why do I remember? Because I fell in love with her, left the hospital without confessing my feelings, and parted ways. Her smile has been stuck in my mind for these 13 years. We introduced ourselves. Her name was Amy. It matched the name I remembered. I honestly don't remember the other women, but it seemed like Tyler's crush was the woman sitting to Amy's left, as he kept talking to her. She seemed gentle and kind. I pretended to look down while watching Amy's every move. This makes me just a creepy guy. Tyler, of all people, noticed my nervousness. This guy's shy. He'll get used to it soon, so bear with him, and you're nervous. Should you down a strong drink? He teased. Please, just stop. Instead of bothering with me, Tyler should focus on approaching the woman he's interested in. I thought. He was probably nervous too. By paying attention to me, he was trying to keep his composure. Also, arguing back would only dampen the mood. I could only make small talk with Amy while dodging Tyler's teasing. As we passed the time like this, the lattice door to our private room suddenly opened. I thought it was a server, but it wasn't. A burly man was leaning against the door. With tan skin and a beard, his eyes were completely glazed over. Maybe because the room was warm or because he was drunk, his muscles bulged under his tight short-sleeved shirt, and his neck was thick. Everyone in the room was scared by his appearance. Is this the wrong room? Tyler barely managed to respond, yes. I thought he would leave, but... Oh. Wow, 3 beauties. Mind if I join? He said, stumbling in. He seemed very drunk. The man wedged himself between Amy and Tyler's crush and started talking to them. Tyler quietly left. He was probably going to get a server. I wanted to wait for that. But I couldn't wait for Tyler to return with a server. Because the man wrapped his arm around Amy's shoulder and brought his dirty face close to her beautiful one. Amy's face froze in fear, her eyes teary. The moment I saw that, I stood up and swiftly moved behind the man. Sorry. With that one word, I grabbed the arm around Amy's shoulder, pulled it towards me, and trapped the man's body with my legs. The man let out a strange noise. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologized while locking him in a hold he couldn't escape from. The man groaned in pain, trying to break free. I'm sorry. Please don't resist. It'll hurt more if you do. The man managed to gasp out, who are you? But I just kept apologizing. I don't like seeing people in pain. As I held him in place, Tyler came rushing back. I brought someone from the same group and a server. Behind Tyler were 3 burly men who looked like the drunk guy and a flustered server. A few minutes later, the drunk man, sobered up by my hold, bowed his head. The other members of his group also bowed deeply. The group offered to cover our bill as an apology, and although we declined, they insisted, saying, "Let us pay as a matter of honor," and took the bill, a bit unsteady. Just before leaving, the man turned back. "I'm pretty strong in wrestling, but who are you really?" I tried to brush it off, but Tyler looked at me and asked, "Travis, what's going on?" And everyone else's eyes were also on me. I couldn't dodge it any longer. I did judo for a long time. Until about my sophomore year of high school. To put it simply, I'm a black belt. Everyone gasped in admiration, and the drunk man said, "I see," and left. As the room quieted down, Tyler muttered, "You're amazing," then exclaimed excitedly, "Wow! You're strong. That's awesome. I look lame now, even though I'm weaker than you." Seeing Tyler go from excitement to dejection, I looked at him. "I think you're the amazing one, Tyler." Tyler's face looked a bit funny as if asking, "How so?" "You got clothes for me and went out first to get help." It must have taken a lot of courage to act in that situation. I want to be as thoughtful as you. Tyler always bothers me because I usually stay by myself at work. While I prefer being alone, Tyler probably sees me as isolated. His frequent attempts to talk to me are his way of being kind. Since Tyler's crush was watching, I decided to give him some credit. "Thanks for always looking out for me. You're kind and thoughtful, and because of you, work is fun." I hoped these words would make his crush think better of him. As I watched Tyler blush and get excited, I thought about that. Tyler managed to get us to a second party at a karaoke place. However, I declined, saying I was tired. I don't like singing, so karaoke is torture for me. But I did gather some courage. I exchanged contact info with Amy. I even managed to ask if she had a boyfriend, and she said no, so I hope to get closer to her slowly. Smiling to myself, I walked towards the station, hearing the sound of high heels approaching. I turned around to see Amy running towards me. Surprised, I ran to meet her. "What's wrong? Did you forget something?" I call out to Amy, who was breathing rough from running. She said, "I remembered." My eyes widened. You were the judo boy I was assigned to as a nursing student, right?" I was taken aback. I didn't realize it. I'm usually good with faces. "You had a buzz cut back then. You noticed me, didn't you?" Caught red-handed, I was surprised. "I thought you were glancing at me." When I remembered, it all made sense. Your gaze wasn't one of interest but asking, "Do you remember me?" I wondered if I had such a wistful gaze. "You managed to get your father's approval, right?" she said, and I thanked her. "Yes. Thanks to your encouragement back then." She laughed. "I didn't do much." "Hey, how about we go for another drink?" I didn't get to drink much, and I skipped the second party. I kind of feel like getting a little tipsy. Is that okay? I was tired. But, with those sultry eyes looking at me, there's no way I could say no. I nodded slightly and entered a nearby bar with her. We sat at the counter, side by side. We were so close our shoulders almost touched. My heart was pounding loudly. Meeting like this, after more than 10 years. I was a student back then, so I was 21. She started the conversation, and I added, I was a sophomore in high school, hospitalized for a ligament rupture. Back then, while lying in the hospital bed, a scary nurse came in and introduced a cute woman with big eyes, saying she was a student and would be my caretaker. I agreed immediately. The dull hospital life felt suddenly brightened. She came to my room twice a day, in the morning and evening, to check my temperature, pulse, and blood pressure. Sometimes, she informed me of changes in my rehab schedule. It was just that, but she talked to me a bit each time, and we grew a little closer. As my discharge approached and I confessed I didn't want to leave, she listened to me kindly. I had been doing judo since I was a kid. My father had been practicing judo since he was a child, and in Japan, where judo originated, It's common for police officers to incorporate it into their training. Using his experience, he became a police officer. However, I had always disliked judo. I hated getting hurt and hurting others. With my father being strict, quitting judo was not an option. With no way out, I chose to become stronger. To avoid getting hurt by others. And to win quickly without hurting my opponent. Though I couldn't do that against my father, my desperate training led me to win tournaments and eventually earn a black belt. Just as I was being seen as a promising athlete, I got injured. In my rebellious phase, I pushed myself too hard during training with my father. Before he could stop me, I injured my leg, resulting in a severe ligament tear. This led to my first extended break from training. During this hospitalization, I genuinely felt I never wanted to do judo again. I feared that once I returned home, I would be pushed to aim higher while doing rehab. And pressured to become a police officer like my father. I didn't want to leave the hospital. I didn't want to go home. When I confessed this, Amy scolded me. "You're a guy. Don't be so pathetic." Expecting comfort, her unexpected words stunned me into silence. The tears that were about to fall receded. "You have to become truly strong. You need to surpass your father. It's your life, isn't it? If you can't change yourself here, you'll live your life walking on the path your father laid out for you. Don't just go with the flow." I was dumbfounded. And I thought about it. A life running along the path my father had laid out. I clearly didn't want that. My face must have changed because Amy smiled. "Do your best. I'm rooting for you." Fueled by her smile, I faced my father. After being discharged, I told my parents how I felt. That I wanted to retire from judo. That I hated the pain it caused me and others. That I wanted to become a physical therapist instead of a police officer. During my hospitalization, I received a lot of help from physical therapists. They considered my needs first and tailored my rehab plans. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to use the body I had trained through judo to help others. Though I stuttered at times, I confessed this, but my father wouldn't accept it. He said I couldn't quit judo until I defeated him. However, my ligament would take a long time to fully recover. When my mother, in tears, asked what would happen if I forced myself to train and ended up unable to walk, my father relented and gave me another condition. No half measures. If you really want to be a physical therapist, aim for one of these universities. The list he handed me included only top-tier schools. He wanted to see how serious I was. At the time, my grades were nowhere near good enough to even get halfway to those schools. It is as if there is a target that is visible but far away. But I studied frantically. With no judo practice, I had plenty of time. I dedicated all my time to studying. During that period, I set my sights on one university. Of course, the university I chose allowed me to study relevant subjects, and I also resonated with its philosophy. Motivated by my desire to attend this university, I studied intensely from the summer of my second year of high school and was accepted into my target university. I think my father eventually accepted my goal. To be honest, he might have feared that I would stop studying altogether. The snacks and drinks he occasionally brought me showed that he genuinely supported me. When I finished telling Amy about how I surpassed my father, she looked at me with teary eyes and said, "That's amazing, you really worked hard. That university is truly prestigious. I respect you," and she applauded me. "Your words changed me, Amy," I said, looking straight into her eyes. She fidgeted and said, "I feel bad, so I'll tell you, those words were like me talking to myself." Surprised, I listened as Amy shared her story. She revealed that becoming a nurse was also her parents' suggestion. With good benefits and plenty of job opportunities. It seemed like a practical choice, and she followed that path without much question. But because it wasn't her own decision, she started to slack off. Especially during her internship, she felt useless, made many mistakes, and was constantly reprimanded by her supervisor. Meeting me during those days, when she wished for time to pass quickly and the internship to end soon, she tried to prolong our conversations to avoid spending time at the nurse's station. While telling you those things, I was actually trying to motivate myself. I was questioning if I was just following the path my parents laid out for me. Watching you, I realized clearly that I didn't want that. I wanted to be someone who could empathize with patients. I decided to become a nurse not because my parents wanted me to, but because I chose to. The person I needed to overcome was myself. She looked radiant as she spoke. Since then, Amy had worked hard to motivate herself. Eventually, she was praised by her supervisor and sent off with confidence that she would become an excellent nurse. After finishing her story, Amy, perhaps thirsty, gulped down the rest of her cocktail. I'm currently working in pediatrics, and every day is fulfilling. I have that time to thank for not giving up, and maybe it's partly thanks to you, Travis, she said with a smile while ordering another cocktail from the bartender. She looked so beautiful that I felt dizzy, not just because of the alcohol. She clinked her glass against mine. I think it took a lot of courage for you to use your judo skills in that fancy restaurant. You seem to have hidden the fact that you practiced judo. But, thank you for saving me. I was really scared then. With her cheeks slightly flushed, she continued, Travis, you were really cool, she said. I took a sip of my drink to soothe my dry throat and said, I'm glad I could help you. For the first time, I felt that it was good I did judo. Amy laughed heartily. Encouraged by the alcohol, I gathered my courage. Meeting you again here feels like fate. So, even if it's just as friends, would you go out with me? My heart was pounding so hard it felt like my whole body had become a heart. As she looked at me and smiled, Amy's face moved closer to mine. I felt a soft sensation on my cheek. Then Amy's face slowly moved away. She had a mischievous expression. Actually, I'm quite impatient and proactive. I'm not planning on taking it slow, so be prepared, she declared with a wink. If I don't step up my game, I won't be able to keep up with her. I vowed to become a reliable man. A few years later. One more time. My 3-year-old son, lying down and almost crying, shouted while looking at the ceiling. Again? I'm getting tired, let's stop soon, I suggested, but he shook his head vigorously. One more time. At that moment, Amy walked in. Okay, I brought snacks, so let's take a break, she said, and my son, forgetting about wanting another match, rushed to the less sweet muffins Amy had made. After being freed from my son, Amy laughed and said, Good job, offering me a muffin. It's been 4 years since Amy and I got married. I struggled with the idea of teaching judo to my son, but deep down, judo is a fundamental part of me. It gave me the strength to protect. It also taught me patience. My explosive focus is thanks to judo. And most importantly, my self-confidence comes from having the strength that judo gave me. If I were just weak, I wouldn't have been able to endure Tyler's teasing. The soft heart instilled in me by judo gave me the strength to brush off Tyler's teasing. I want my son to develop that same mindset, so after discussing with Amy, we decided to teach our son judo. Unlike me, he's got a strong competitive spirit. He'll probably be good at judo. Dad would be happy. My father, now a doting grandfather, spoils my son with a soft gaze. It's hard to believe he was ever so scary. He got his competitive spirit from me, Amy said, smiling at our son. Her smile was dazzling. I placed my hand on Amy's swollen belly. I hope this one will be kind like me. Amy laughed heartily. Listening to her laughter echo through the small room, I realized how truly happy I was.